I'd like to lead by telling you that you inspire us. That's why we asked you to come here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an author, and where were you when you were our age, and how did you get to where you are now?
When I was 2, the doctor told my mom, who was 5'3", that I was going to be 6 feet tall, which is a big deal down in Miami, you know. And so the answer was to put me in ballet. So I became a ballet dancer, and I was in the Miami Ballet Company. But I continued to grow and grow, and I grew too tall for the company, and so my dream just ended. So I wrote on point about that. And so I turned to art, which was something that I was always interested in, and made great big paintings and was loving it. But then I got rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and cancer, and so it was more difficult to work with my hands on that scale. So I went back to something that I had done from childhood, which was write. And it took 6 years to get that first work published. And I had 300 rejections, and I just stopped counting because it was so discouraging. And my daughter would bring, she was like, by that time she was like 3, and she'd bring a stack of books and put them on my desk, and she said, "I'm your editor, I don't want to publish any of your books."
What were your biggest obstacles in getting to where you are today?
Probably my health. Physically, you know, growing too tall, making me have to start dreaming again or create a new dream. And then my conditions now with lupus and rheumatoid, it's negotiating that, like it's living smaller. Some days it's writing, some days I don't have a voice. I'll go 2 months without being able to speak, or 2 months without hands, or 2 months without feet. And so it's just seeing, well, what can I do this day? And sometimes all I can do is breathe.
What motivates you to achieve your dreams?
And making that connection, you know, I love having those readers come up afterwards and they're crying, or their mother's passed from cancer, or they've grown too tall, or totally unrelated things. One girl was a bigger girl, and she just came up and she said, "I'm a cutter." And she just gave me a giant hug because she had wanted to stop, and she was working through that. So that fuels me immensely, yeah. Trying to make a difference one by one. I do know that I work very, very small to big. So when I write a novel, I'm not writing 100,000 words and cutting down to 50,000. I start with those little poetry words and just build. I kind of think of it like some people are like Michelangelo, and they're carving the sculpture down. I'm more like a wire sculpture and building on top of it slowly, slowly, slowly. In fact, that first editor that I had would say, "Okay, it's time to name your main character," you know, or "Okay," and she'd just nudge me along. So now, thankfully, I can do that on my own. But I think it has to do with starting small and thinking big. I used to write for a diaper service. It was my first imprint. They're like, "Would you like a check or diapers?"
Were there any moments of self-doubt that you had? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I do have moments of self-doubt. They're short, you know? Because I can't control, it's usually like the book launches and you don't have a lot of control. You do all your social media dancing, but you can't control it. You can just you can write the book and you can let it go. And then if it's misunderstood or lost, you know, or that can be hard, but then the good review comes in and somebody found it. So I think that when I do have self-doubt, I just look back to my own work, and the next day that starts, and it's like, I have something to do, I'm still here, you know, and then I'll get an encouragement like y'all saying, "Could I interview you?" And it's like, where did that come from?
After everything we've talked about, is there any advice that you could give us about what it takes to define our own road?
in terms of writing,
Yeah.
reading. I just had this analogy, reading Fangirl. Reading everything, just pulling it in. So many of my novels come from, it's like I'm this house that's all closed up, and I bring a book in and I open it up, and that book opens a window and my own work can fly out of it. So reading hers, it's like I could write about college. Reading Aria of the Sea by Dia Calhoun, I have a story to tell about my own ballet experience. And almost every one of my books is generated that way. In reading, to expose yourself to styles and genres and forms, and copying them, try them. I think that's what's most important of all and most helpful. And then reading how-to, like McKee's story or The War of Art. Those definitely fill my pot. But also living, because you have to have those experiences then to draw from. If I write too much, which is more what you do when you're empty nesting, you have to stop, get away. Like REI's opt outside. Right now you got to get out and refill the pot so you can draw something from it again. So reading and living, and then write.